Why do people live in a place where winter temperatures fall to -37 degrees Celsius?
Living here is never easy. Kaza is a harsh yet beautiful home in the mighty Himalayas, and our child is its king.
A place nearly 12,000 feet above sea level, where the air grows thinner with every step, and barren mountains stretch endlessly beneath an unforgiving sky. For months each year, snow and ice seal off mountain passes, turning entire valleys into silent islands. Yet here, life endures. Ancient prayers continue to drift across the wind. Rivers still carve their way through the cold desert landscape, and every morning people wake beneath towering peaks and call this beautiful but harsh place home. Welcome to Kaza, the beating heart of Spiti Valley, a town shaped profoundly by its altitude, its deep-rooted faith, and the relentless rhythm of the mountains. Today, we journey into one of the most remarkable settlements in the Indian Himalayas, not merely to uncover how people survive here, but to understand why they never leave. The higher the road climbs, the more the world begins to fade behind you.
I am 132 years old, and I have seen this village flourish over generations. Every step forward brings new challenges, but once you reach this place, it feels like heaven on earth.
Until everything becomes stone, wind, and a silence so wide it seems the earth has poured itself into the sky. At nearly 3,650 meters above sea level, the air is different, thinner, sharper, as if every breath has to be earned. And then, life begins to reappear, not all at once, but in fragments. Stone homes resting quietly on the valley floor, narrow lanes where movement gathers and then disappears, and beyond them, the steady, unchanging course of the Spiti River cutting through the silence. This is where the settlement unfolds. One side is called Old Kaza, closer to the rhythm of daily life, with small shops, local movement, and spaces where people cross paths in fleeting moments. The other side rises slightly higher. New Kaza, quieter, more open to the wind, with newer structures gazing across the valley as if silently observing everything. Despite this division, nothing feels separated. Both sides are united by the same silence, the same towering mountains, the same endless sky. Even the road that brings you here doesn't feel like an arrival. It feels like the world is slowly letting you go.
For the people of Kaza, survival is not just about enduring the cold. It is about preserving a way of life that has existed here for generations.
But in a place like this, even silence has a structure. Beneath the stillness of Kaza, something is always moving. Something that decides whether life continues or slows down. That is water. Water here does not arrive freely. It is not taken for granted. It is watched, waited for, and carefully followed through every season. In the warmer months, it begins far above the valley, born from melting snow high in the mountains. It travels slowly downward, threading through rock and dust before reaching the settlement below. When water arrives, it is not abundant. It is about timing. Everything depends on it. Fields exist only because water allows them for a short window each year. Homes function because this precious supply is controlled and rationed. Daily routines adjust quietly around its uncertainty. Nothing here exists separate from the flow of water. But when winter returns, the movement of water changes. Rivers slow, streams vanish beneath ice. Water is more than a resource here. It is a cycle that dictates the rhythm of life itself. In a land ruled by seasons, food is never just food. It is preparation, memory, survival rendered in physical form. Nothing is eaten without an awareness of what the coming months will take away. Winter does not simply reduce life, it removes access to it. So, in the brief warmth of summer, life focuses on one quiet urgency: storing enough to endure what is to come. Barley lies at the center of this rhythm, not because it is abundant, but because it endures where little else can. It grows in thin soil, short seasons, and harsh conditions that reject most other crops. When harvested, barley is not treated as excess. It is treated as future, ground into flour, stored carefully, preserved for the months when the land outside gives nothing back. Every household understands this cycle without needing to say it. Food here is not about variety, it is about continuity. Winter meals carry a different meaning. They are not prepared merely for enjoyment, but for warmth, strength, and the quiet effort of surviving another frozen day. Steam rising from a bowl is more than heat, it is reassurance. Simple dishes carry weight, not in complexity, but in purpose. Each meal is shaped by the question, will this carry the body through tomorrow? Thus, food becomes deeper than nourishment. It becomes a record of endurance, a reminder that everything eaten in winter was once gathered in a season that no longer exists. As the wind outside grows sharp and relentless, life moves inward, not by choice, but by necessity. Homes here are not built to impress the mountains, but to resist them. Thick walls of mud and stone hold on to whatever warmth can enter, protecting what cannot afford to escape. Small windows face the sun, not for views, but for survival, capturing every ray the short days allow. Inside, everything gathers around one point: fire. It is not a comfort, decoration, or occasional luxury. It is constant. A quiet center where life organizes itself. Around it, people don't just warm their bodies, they share the same space of survival.
At my age, I've seen countless winters, but this one is unlike anything I've ever witnessed. The cold shows no mercy to anyone.
Outside, the valley feels distant and frozen. Inside, life feels contained, but alive. During the long, cold months, when the world beyond the walls is unreachable, the home becomes more than shelter. It becomes the entire universe. In a place where isolation is not temporary, but seasonal, no one survives entirely alone. Distance is not measured in kilometers, but in effort, weather, and whether paths between homes are even passable. Over time, a quiet system forms, not built by law, but learned through necessity: sharing. Sharing here is not kindness, it is survival shaped into habit. When one home has more than enough, it does not stay separate. When another faces shortage, it is not left unanswered. In a valley where winter can close everything for months, separation is a risk no one can afford. Work becomes collective. Fields are tended together. Supplies carried in groups. Even small tasks turn into shared effort, because effort here is always heavier than it seems. In these ongoing exchanges, simple, unspoken, continuous, something stronger than survival forms: connection. It is not loud or celebrated. It does not need to be. It exists in gestures more than words, presence more than promises. Elsewhere, community is built. Here, community is depended upon. When winter closes the valley, it does not separate lives, it binds them. In most places, seasons pass through life. Here, they replace it. Two versions of existence unfold. What happens when the land is open, and what happens when it closes. Summer arrives like a brief permission. Snow retreats slowly, paths reappear, movement resumes. Fields awaken after months of silence. For a short time, everything accelerates. This is no ease, but urgency disguised as opportunity. Every action taken in these months carries weight for the entire year. What is not prepared now will not exist later. What is not stored now will not return when the land goes silent again. Then, without warning, winter takes over. The open valley narrows, roads vanish, sound fades. Distance itself feels different, as if everything has moved farther away overnight. In the long silence of snow and cold, time loses its usual meaning. Days are no longer marked by activity, but endurance, until the cycle turns again. Not as repetition, but survival returning to its beginning. When winter finally settles, something changes beyond temperature. The valley becomes quieter than silence itself, not empty, but sealed. For months, the outside world feels less like a place unreachable and more like a place that no longer exists at all. Inside this stillness, life continues in smaller ways. Days are shaped by staying in, waiting, adjusting to a rhythm with no urgency left. Time behaves differently. It no longer moves forward, but stretches, slow, unbroken, heavy with repetition. Silence is not absence, but presence. It fills corners, gaps between conversations, becomes something people learn to live alongside, as they live alongside cold and wind. Yet life does not break under it. It adapts. People fill what cannot be changed. Stories repeat. Work slows but never stops.
The cold can be cruel, my people, but simple things keep us strong.
Community becomes even more vital when the outside world withdraws. Because in a place where isolation lasts for months, the mind survives not by escape, but acceptance. Not comfort, but continuity. Work continues at a different pace. Not urgency, but necessity stretched across time. Hands stay busy, even when movement is limited. Repairs, preparation, small tasks that seem ordinary elsewhere are here essential threads holding daily life together. Stopping is never really an option. Waiting for winter to end is part of survival. And through it all is a quiet understanding. Life here is not defined by what is missing, but by what continues despite it. Not loudly, not quickly, but steadily, like something that has learned to endure without needing to be seen. What remains after everything is not the difficulty of the place, but the quiet way life refuses to disappear from it. Survival here is not loud or attention-seeking. It simply continues, in silence, in cold, in distances stretching beyond most people's experience. Somewhere in this continuation, a different understanding of life forms. Existence does not need comfort to be meaningful. Struggle does not mean absence of life, and even in harshest environments, human presence persists, not by overcoming nature, but by learning to live within it. The mountains do not change for people. People change for the mountains, slowly, quietly, across generations that listen to wind, snow, and silence as instructions rather than obstacles. When you leave this place, you do not take answers with you, but questions about resilience, adaptation, and how much of life is shaped not by what we choose, but by what we learn to endure. Long after the journey ends, something of this valley remains, not as a memory of where you went, but as a reminder of what life is still capable of becoming. In a land where the earth is harsh and cold, where survival is a daily challenge, another force quietly holds the community together: faith. It is woven into the very fabric of life here, as vital as water, as enduring as the mountains themselves. Monasteries rise like sentinels across the Spiti Valley. Their ancient walls carrying prayers that have echoed for centuries. These monasteries are more than places of worship. They are centers of learning, culture, and refuge. Built with the same stone and mud as the homes, they blend seamlessly into the landscape. Yet their presence radiates a profound sense of calm and continuity. Within their walls, generations have gathered to meditate, to teach, and to preserve traditions that connect the people to both the earth and the sky. Each monastery is a living archive of belief and endurance, a beacon in the long winters when the valley sleeps beneath endless snow. Monks keep ritual fires burning, chanting prayers that rise like smoke into the cold air, reminding everyone that though the world outside may be frozen, life's spirit remains alive and vibrant. The presence of faith forms a spiritual rhythm that parallels the physical cycles of water and seasons. Just as survival depends on the flow of melting snow and stored barley, it also depends on the rituals and beliefs that sustain hope and community. This faith is not passive. It is active and shaping. It teaches patience, acceptance, and reverence for the forces beyond human control. The mountains are seen as guardians, the rivers as lifelines, and the sky as a vast, watchful presence. This deep connection to nature is expressed not only in daily survival, but in ceremonies marked by offerings, prayers, and communal gatherings. The forming of relationships in this landscape is inseparable from survival. Bonds are forged through shared hardship, mutual aid, and collective memory. Each person's story is intertwined with those of their neighbors, family, and community. The social fabric is dense, woven tight by necessity and trust. This forming is evident in how homes cluster together, often around water sources or near the warmth of a monastery. The architecture itself reflects this. Thick stone walls, compact layouts, and shared courtyards where people gather despite the cold. Even the narrow lanes of old Kaza echo with footsteps and voices, signs of a life that persists through connection. Beyond the physical structures, forming takes place in the quiet exchanges of daily life. Sharing of food, tools, and stories is not occasional, but continual. It is embedded in the understanding that none can withstand the valley's winters alone. Each act of giving strengthens the whole, creating an invisible but unbreakable chain. Belief here is not confined to spiritual life, but extends to the very act of survival. It is a belief in endurance, in the cycles of nature, in the power of community. In this valley, human survival is a story of adaptation on every level: physical, social, and spiritual. It is about learning to read the land, to listen to the wind, and to understand the rhythms that govern life. It is about building homes that resist the cold, growing crops that endure the thin soil, and nurturing a community that survives through sharing. It is also about embracing a faith that sustains beyond the material, a faith that transforms the harsh landscape into a sacred home. This faith, these formed relationships, and the cycles of nature create a rhythm that is both deeply human and profoundly connected to the earth. And so, life in Kaza is not a battle against nature, but a dialogue with it. The mountains do not yield, nor do the people seek to conquer them. Instead, they learn to move with the seasons, to honor the silence, and to find strength in the shared flame of survival. In the end, this is what makes Kaza more than a settlement on a map. It makes it a testament to human resilience, a place where life continues, not despite the environment, but through a profound harmony with it. This story, carried through generations, invites us to reconsider our own relationship with nature and community. It challenges us to see that survival is not just about overcoming hardship, but about forming bonds, embracing faith, and learning the slow art of endurance. And as the wind carries ancient prayers across the silent mountains, we are reminded that life's most enduring truths often whisper rather than shout, and that sometimes the greatest strength lies in simply continuing.